I don't know about you, but chatting to a few of you at lunchtime, I think there was a sense that people were getting quite scared this morning. Some of those comments that were coming out, if you're not using big data, you're going to be left behind. Your job is in danger. Look out for the machines because the machines are coming to get you. And if the amount of change outside of your system is greater than the rate of change inside your system, you're going to be extinct. I think the message was pretty clear. Be afraid. Be very afraid. However, this afternoon, we're going to be looking at some of the practical examples that can actually turn this fear into something rather more exciting. There's a thin line between fear and excitement. We've already seen some great stuff there from John and from Nigel, and we're going to be pulling out this theme some more with our panel this afternoon. We've got also some research from ABTA that's been announced today, which follows nicely, actually says some similar things to the things that Nigel said, which I think will inform this debate very well. So first of all, I'd like to invite our next panelist to the stage. Victoria Bacon from ABTA has been the head of communications at ABTA for 3 years now, and actually connecting her customers, the ABTA members, is a very important theme for you, is it not? So Victoria, please take to the stage. And next, a really interesting character, the Group General Manager for the Mid-Counties Cooperative. At any other business, he'd be described as the Managing Director, but under co-op rules, that's this gentleman's title. This man is Alistair Rowland. He's going to talk to us a little bit about some practical examples from what many might see as a traditional high street travel agency. So, Alistair. And our next panelist is another gentleman from what many have seen as a progressive travel seller, tour operator, all-round travel business. He was head of mobile and online at Kuoni Outbound for some time, and recently stepped up to become Vice President Sales and Marketing for Kuoni in the UK. And we're going to talk to Andrew Posniak about the multi-channel approach coming from Kuoni. Andrew, thank you. And just finally, I'd like to welcome Nigel back to the stage. And absolutely huge congratulations to Nigel for the faultless demonstration of technology there. I know you're a bit nervous, but that was really good. First of all, we've just been joined by the three panelists. I'd like to invite you, just very briefly, just to explain a little bit about yourself and why this whole theme of connecting customers is important to you. Victoria.
Yes, obviously the presentations were very interesting. I think, as you've said, Dan, there's a mixture of sort of excitement and fear, I think, involved in a lot of this. We've released research today. ABTA has released some research which talks a lot about the customer journey. It also talks a lot about the use of mobile devices. And I think what's quite interesting coming out of that research, which perhaps supports some of the points that Nigel has made, is that people are using smartphones perhaps in a slightly different way to how they're using tablets and how they're using PCs, for example. And I think this is particularly true of the travel industry. Forrester released some research which said that the bigger the transaction, the bigger the device. And I think we all know that in the holiday industry, we are talking about big money transactions. So, well, a lot of the transactions are very high value. So I think, in terms of where that's going to take us versus smartphones versus other PC devices and also in store, I think that's interesting. I think also interesting, one of the points which came through in terms of this whole customer journey, which I think both John and Nigel picked up on. I think personally there is a lot more around the in-store experience that people can do. Again, our research highlighted that people value travel professionals for kind of transactional elements, things like ease of booking, prices, cheaper prices, that sort of things. But they rate travel professionals much lower when it comes to things like knowing what they like as a customer. And I think that's really important for us as an industry.
Okay, well, we'll certainly pick up on those points, and particularly interested in your point about mobile and tablets. And whilst in many sectors clearly more and more people are using those devices. They're not using them to make transactions, very similar to what Nigel was saying before. Alistair, tell us a bit about yourself and how you connect customers.
Well, what we've tried to do over 2 years, when lots of the Co-op brand went into JV ownership, is actually rebuild that in mid-counties, but rebuild that with a routes to market strategy that we still see as relevant. And net promoter score in retail is over 90%. Our customers love us, and that's still very, very relevant. So while we need to have a clear online strategy, actually routes to market is still valid of online, very high quality home workers fulfilling calls, third-party consortium agents, and very carefully managed retail estate, all we see as absolutely still relevant.
Okay, thank you. Alistair. And Andrew.
Sure. Well, Dan, thanks very much for the introduction with us as Quoney as progressive. I don't feel that we are at all. I feel we're a long way from that. In fact, we're probably the champions in travel of non-conversion, I would say, on our site. We worked. One of the first things that Derek Jones, our MD, did when he took on the role was to put us back to price parity, which, of course, then overnight reduced significantly the business that we actually completed online. So for us, as with Alistair's description, it's very much about a routes to market. I mean, what's the sort of thing that's more important for us as a brand right now is to get our name out and put our shops on the high street in shopping centres in John Lewis, continuing to work with and very much developing the relationship with businesses such as Alistair is very much to put ourselves in front of potential customers. We can clearly do a lot better job with content online, but really all that we're trying to do with the Quoney product, because it's quite a complicated product to sell, is to talk to the customer at some point, whether that's over the phone, whether that's via web chat or face to face. That's really what we're trying to do. So we're absolutely not trying to convert. Conversions are tiny fractions of 1%. And the challenge for us is to just have more customers coming through our front door, picking up the phone and speaking to agents who will also sell us.
I just may add to that.
Sure.
There's a piece of technology, unfortunately, again from Google, called Hangout, which has been pioneered in the past probably about 3 months in the UK. And Google Hangout is essentially a free video, audio conferencing service that you can run from your desktop or from your phone.
Is that like WhatsApp? Hangout, is that?
Yeah, except with video and screen sharing and all the other bits to go with it. And what it would actually do if we were forward thinking is allow the in-store agents to project themselves to people who are shopping from home, if you like, and thus extending that whole relationship. So when you were talking about we're trying to encourage the customers to talk to more of our people, that actually that sort of technology would bridge that, and it's free.
Yeah, great. And just to go back to your point, I do view Quoney as being quite progressive in terms of the investment that you're making in the retail, in the face-to-face sale, as part of this whole equation. Would you agree?
Sure. I mean, we're trying to. In terms of our own retail estate, we're trying to do something very specific, which is maybe to create an environment which is a little bit different from what we've historically seen on the high street over the years. It's right for us. It's not necessarily right for everybody. The flip side is that we create stores that people think are the receptions for spas, or they think that we're retailing the furniture that you see in the shop. So, in terms of getting the customer to cross over the threshold and talk to us about a holiday, that can be quite intimidating for some. So it's about getting the right balance. But certainly we've very much invested in our estate, and we'll continue to do that.
Yep. Okay, that's great. Let's kick this off a little bit further. We've got a great lineup of technology gurus, Google's head of travel, and some very interesting characters here. I want to talk to you, Alistair. I know many here will view Mid-Counties as a traditional travel agency chain. That's the way it's perceived, perhaps. Tell us, where do you fit into this debate? How are you investing outside of bricks and mortar?
Well, I think we've always tried to have a strategy where the routes to market strategy has no more than 50% in retail, bricks and mortar. I think, but equally, co-op is a very complex thing, and you've got 3/4 of it now owned by Thomas Cook. So a customer trying to find a co-op brand online, very complex. Actually, there's about 10 million visitors, about 6 million now in the JV, 4 million with us. So we've got to clean that up, actually, once and for all.
Yeah. And there is a point on your website saying, making that clear to consumers.
Yeah,
but you're not connected with cooperative.
It's customers just know the co-op, don't they? And we've got to make it more clear. I think where we've got to with online is we've got a reasonable online site. It's not the best. We try and sell everything to everybody, and I think all research said we've got to stop doing that. So we're taking content off our site. But we have that classic 0.3% conversion, and it's highly wasteful. The only people getting rich from it are actually Google, and it's true.
No, actually not rich, very rich.
Yeah, indeed. So what we're actually trying to do, which is really interesting, is minimise the online journey and get call to book as the obvious route. And the reason for it is we've got really high quality specialists, some in retail and some who operate from home.
But haven't you just contradicted something that Nigel said in his presentation about how travel fell behind retail in online because travel was too quick to push customers down the booking routes? That was what you said, Nigel, wasn't it? Yeah. So what's your view on what Alistair's saying here?
I think it's really important basically to serve the customer in whatever way they want to be served, whether it's online, offline, or anything else. I think the point I was trying to make there is that if you look at retail, they've just got that user experience down to a T. And if they want to book on a smartphone, they can do it because the sites are really easy, they're really easily navigable, the font's the right size, and so on. So I think we would all probably have more bookings on smartphones if the sites were better and more user-friendly. And I do think there's some good examples in retail.
So it's a general user-friendliness rather than pushing people towards a box to buy.
And actually, if you've got a really good site, it may well be that people don't have to use search as much. They'll just come back to your favourite site because it's so easy to use and it's a great site.
Yep.
And apps as well. We're always pushing apps. If people go to the apps, then they're not coming through Google.
Yes.
So,
and when you talk about retail, good examples, specifics?
I'd get shot if I named individual ones, but there's some good brand names that maybe Andrew has an association with that are pretty good at that.
Yes. Okay, but just coming back to you, Alistair, just before we come to Victoria, is that fair, Nigel's comment there? It's this emphasis on user-friendliness. Is that what you're trying to say in terms of the route to book?
I think it is. If you just look at the results, you go from that classic 0.3 conversion to almost a 20%, sometimes higher conversion. Not only that, average selling price is higher. The home worker hooks a customer for life, hopefully, and that then becomes a really powerful model. What actually we're trying to do is hook up the experience to our wider set of businesses. So Mid-Counties now operates the 7th largest energy company in the UK, just sat behind the top 6. Developed 250,000 new customers in a year reselling energy and gas. They're great. They're B, C1 customers. If we were going attracting new customers for our business to start reselling travel, perfect customers. So we're linking all of our society's customers up through childcare, pharmacy, travel and energy, and that's really quite exciting.
In a way, it's another form of content, I guess, pulling them into the other areas. Sorry, Victoria, you wanted to talk? Yeah,
no, I was actually just going to pick up on part of Nigel's presentation. I know it only formed, Nigel, a very small part of your presentation right at the end, but I thought it was interesting that in terms of the voice search, when you did the test of what is, for a human being, a pretty straightforward question, or for a travel professional, a fairly straightforward question, Google was completely flummoxed by it. And I think that is a kind of salutary lesson for us. I think, yes, of course, there are elements where it can support the journey, but actually, I think if travel businesses can get that part of it really right, whether that's in-store, whether that's over the phone, whether that's online, then I think that there's value to be had. And I think some of the travel businesses that are doing well are doing that side of things very well. They're adding value to customers, they're adding that experience and advice around those sorts of queries.
Yeah. John?
A word of caution about Google's apparent intent. They hired a guy last year called Ray Kurzweil, and Ray is, sounds like I know him, he is a world-leading authority on artificial intelligence. And Google has more processing power than God, more storage than God, and it's got to go in the direction of being able to answer questions like the one that actually I was quite impressed the fact that you were actually able to answer that question and actually get clearly the Thomas Cook site back online. But nevertheless, Google is acquiring intelligence, processing power, data, information and engineers at a rate of knots, and they have limitless supplies of money to be able to do it with. So they are going to go in the direction of artificial intelligence, and it will be soon.
Are you competing with Google, John?
Gosh, When Google gets into the holiday business, I think that we probably are. I think most people in the room would be quite worried about Amazon coming into the holiday business, because Amazon gets a shed load of traffic from Google free of charge.
Yeah.
And I think if Amazon started to sell holidays, that could be interesting in this business. I think it could certainly be disruptive.
Okay.
If I can just interrupt there, I mean, everybody in this room is a partner of Google, and our intention is to work with you to get the user to the point of transaction at the time that they want to. You know, if it doesn't work for you, then that's really bad for us. You know, so we want you to get the best conversions possible, because then you'll spend more with us, and if you don't, then you'll go down alternative channels. We're well aware of that.
Yeah.
There you go, everyone. Everyone here is a partner of Google. Do hand Nigel your business card afterwards. Good. Let's get back to this theme of connecting our customers. I think there was clearly some fascinating charts up there about the transition from online to mobile to PC to face-to-face. It seems to me that every channel is kind of reinforcing the other channel now, and every channel has to be tip-top. You're only as good online as you are in the high street. Would you say that's true, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's certainly as the product that you have, the more you move away from a purely transactional product. I mean, if I just want to book a hotel room, one channel is enough, one app is enough. I mean, I can see not very far in the future of being able to just do that by voice completely.
Yeah.
But as soon as you have something that is more complex, that involves somewhere that you're not familiar with, that involves a lot of variation, or even a few variations or permutations on the sort of the standard package, then it's for us, it's a number of conversations. And I was listening into some calls in our contact centre the other day, and we were starting to, we were confirming after the 33rd quote. So there's a lot of backwards and forwards, and it may just be over the phone, or it may be partly in store, partly via email, partly by web chat. But I mean, our whole strategy is, well, we're here, we believe we have the expertise, we believe we have the product. And it's up to the customer to say, right, well, I want to speak to you now at 8 in the evening with my laptop in front of me, or I want to come in the next morning and book an appointment to the customer.
But critical to that is that a layer underneath that needs to be marketing attribution strategy. Because the problem is you just don't know where to invest. I mean, we're running a lot of TV campaigns at the moment because we can see that there is a correlation when people are looking at a Thomas Cook ad on TV, then going to actually search for one of our products. But to do that, you've got to have a level of sophistication in the marketing machine so you understand which parts to actually invest in. And I think many companies are not quite that sophisticated yet. I know that Google's putting quite a lot of effort in helping businesses actually do that, because clearly it's in your interest.
And is Thomas Cook seeing a swing back to the shops, as part of this equation?
I would say that we are very much more conscious of what channels drive sales at certain specific points. Our shop network, mostly actually because of the technology that we're starting to put into it, is actually it's pretty good stuff. We are keen to optimize our marketing spend as a business, and we need massive amounts of data. Somebody was alluding earlier on to big data. Well, actually, without big data, we don't know where to make those investments. And in the future, I think for most organizations, when you're running quite expensive acquisition costs, in other words, the cost of acquiring a customer, you've got to have that data, because without it, you're trying to trade a business which is, you just don't know whether or not you're doing it properly.
Yep, so data for every platform, every stretch, not just treating customers as one platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and Victoria, from your point of view, I know you also have a publishing background yourself before you joined ABTA. How is ABTA kind of promoting these opportunities now? Obviously, we're here at the convention. How are you connecting your members, and how are you promoting this kind of stuff out there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's important to get your web presence right. We've relaunched our website this year, and that is very much mobile enabled. I think it's absolutely key, particularly for the kind of content that we have, that it is, that it's searchable. As well as we've been doing a lot on the SEO strategy. I think one of the things I think I have learned from my publishing background is also the importance. I keep on touching on this customer point because I think it's so important, and I think it's an area where a lot of consumer publishers, for example, have put a lot of time and attention, knowing their audience, knowing a niche. And I think that's an area where if you look at travel, you could say somebody like a Thomas Cook is just, it's more of a mass market product, but actually I think where a lot of the operators have been more successful is developing the niche products, and I think that is a direction which a lot of companies are moving in. I think we've already seen it in the publishing industry, where if you can know your you know your readers or you know your followers online. It doesn't matter how they're accessing it. It doesn't matter whether that's online. It doesn't matter whether it's in-store. It doesn't matter whether it's over the phone. If you understand your customer very well, driven by data, then you will be successful. And I think, publishers had to embrace that earlier than the travel industry did, because their commercial model was threatened a lot.
Yeah, we know about that.
TTG. Absolutely. So I think there are some lessons there which we can translate into the travel industry.
It's about making your product yourselves available on whatever platform your audience want to reach you. In whichever way. Good. Okay. We've talked here a lot about transaction. I know I led that discussion. I think there's another theme here around connecting customers. And as travel businesses, often you may only interact with a customer when they make that purchase. But we saw here in, I think it was Nigel's presentation, about the 57 days, was it, research that goes into making a purchase, all the research that goes on, and also, of course, the 5 stages of travel: dreaming, researching, booking, experiencing, sharing. How are you, let's start with you, Alistair, how are you connecting customers across that so that perhaps you take them from one purchase, one holiday, lead them into it, lead them out of it, and then take them into another? What can you do to keep the customer connected all year round?
Well, I think where we've had to be really careful in growing a new business to ensure that cooperative travel has a long-term future is we couldn't put it all into cost of acquisition, just too expensive. But equally what we have, which is incredibly powerful, is the membership scheme. And of course that goes completely wide, from customers who only transact in our food stores to customers who cross-transact. And as opposed to targeting and probably over-focusing on 70 or 80,000 active customers in travel, we've suddenly got 1 million customers to talk to. And that touch point is online, offline, magazine, dividend vouchers, all sorts of things.
Yep.
So we would have a soft touch at least 6 times a year.
Yep.
And probably we would directly target through email or whatever device, probably another 6. So we do have 75% membership, and it's great because we have an opportunity to get to our customers and customers who are wider customers of cooperative but maybe not travel yet, and that's where we're putting our focus right now.
Yeah, and I think cooperative has some unique advantages in that respect in terms of sticking your customers with you. But let's talk about Qoni, and how do you engage your customers all year round?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think a challenge very specifically for us is that we do quite a good job of, let's say, selling honeymoons, involved purchases to customers. They then have kids, have mortgages, and then don't come back for a long time. So we tend to lapse with a lot of customers after the first booking that they have with us. I mean, I think we obviously don't have the network that Co-op does and mid-counties do in terms of the range of touch points they have. So we have to sort of to work on the relationships that we do have. So, for example, with a very nice thing for us with our John Lewis relationship is that they have a very strong wedding gift list business. We're there. Our shops are very close often to customer services. It's very easy for shoppers just to walk over or online to communicate to their friends, families, wedding, and so on. So for us, it's saying, well, we don't have the scale and the reach and the real product range, so we have to choose our partners carefully, hope that they like us, and then hope that they'll drive part of their customer base to us, and for them to do a lot of work on the frequency side.
And you are broadening your offer with the cruise specific operation now as well, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. We've had our sort of, I guess, our toe in the water for cruise in the past. We've looked at it again, and we'll be soft launching in the coming weeks. And for us, again, it's about we have well-trained staff, we have a service proposition, we have customers who. We're not looking to get into the fly and cruise market, but for cruise to add to the range of components that we offer to our customers, it makes a lot of sense for us. So we hope to make a success of that.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. We are going to throw this out for some questions from the floor, so do store those up and don't be shy. Just John, a quick question for you at the end. Thomas Cook, obviously we all know about the utter transformation of the business and how in many ways we're only a short way along that road. Well, what is Thomas Cook now? It's a travel business, it's a travel agent, it's a travel seller, it's a tour operator. I know you've got some views on that.
So Harriet's vision for the business is in the public domain. It's called Voyager Android. And a big chunk of that vision is touching the customer all the way through, pre-booking, during the holiday, coming back from the holiday, helping them store photographs, whatever it happens to be, but actually becoming involved in that whole process. What we want to do is we want to use technology to actually help most of that, and that's going to come in the form of apps. It's going to come in the form of websites that actually much better renders for tablet-type devices. But we want to become involved in the whole experience, not just flogging somebody a holiday, but actually the lifestyle experience that actually goes around it or wraps with it.
And this is an area where TUI has a head start on you, doesn't it not, with its My Thompson app that we've seen this year? TUI,
sorry, you did say TUI has a head start on us there?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't think I heard that properly.
Tell me about your apps. Tell me about your apps.
TUI are a sophisticated competitor. That's as far as I'm going on that one.
Okay, good. No headlines for us there then. Yeah. Fair enough. Questions, come on. Yep, here we are. Rachel, is it? Thank you.
For a lot of people, the screen in the house that they've got the biggest connection with is the television, yet the television doesn't feature on the devices that we're talking about here. So how long is it before connected TVs become a relevant kind of point of booking or researching?
I think probably the answer to that would be to ask Google when they're bringing out a set-top box, because they've certainly brought them out in the United States.
Well, I can tell you that TV is really important, you know, and launching a big brand on television still works really well. I think the key is to do it simultaneously across other devices. And actually, John was absolutely right. As soon as we see a TV ad on, we see an immediate surge in queries, in particular around the January, February, March peak period. We do have a product called Chromecast, which actually means that you can plug in this little device. It's launched in the States. It will come to Europe very, very soon. And you can basically then cast your screen, whether it's a mobile or tablet, onto your television, so you get that big 50-inch experience. It's particularly great for things like YouTube music videos, but you can see the applications potentially in travel. To have that really big screen experience on a video of somewhere you might want to go on holiday would be fantastic.
Good. More questions? Come on, you've got Google's head of travel. You've got Thomas Cook's digital guru. Thank you. Can we have a... can you just say who you are, please? Sorry, and we also have Q&A, mid-counties, and ABTA, of course. Questions for everybody.
So my name is Brian, I'm from the company ABTA. So I heard a lot of words, content, but also this morning it was said that actually customers don't want a choice. So now majority of the people here are travel agents, and they're actually reducing this complexity and trying to cook it down. So what do you do to bring context into the content?
Okay. One for John, perhaps, to start?
So context for content, I think probably I'd best answer that by talking about how you source the customer in the first place, because if the customer comes in from a Google search, let's say for five-star all-inclusive resort hotel, Croatia, then if we bring them into a landing page which has got that data on it, then we're going to do a better job for the customer, and we're actually going to convert. We stand a higher chance of converting that customer. I think where we were as an industry from an external observer's point of view 5 years ago is relatively unsophisticated. We would put people into home pages with no real context. Now what I see across most of my competitors' sites is that actually they have very specific landing pages around very big chunks of content, and that's providing that context for the user.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, content obviously doesn't just have to be about sort of choice and volume and range. It's also about the richness of the content, and it comes back to where a couple of people have used it. It's about inspiring people as well, and I think that's the sort of content which we should be looking to develop.
And also to your point earlier on, Nigel, about video, there's plenty of industry tests out there. eConsultancy did a really good one. Video converts better than any other form of media content. When you've got a video about a holiday or about a destination, it's guaranteed that it will actually convert that user much better, because you're providing that level of inspiration.
Okay, good. Any more questions? We can have one more. Yes, thank you. Microphone. Thank you,
Richard English. We all had a bit of a laugh at the way that Google was quite unable to answer the question, give me a list of sunny beaches in October. And everyone who's worked in the travel industry, the retail travel industry, will know that that's the kind of question that customers ask. And it's the kind of question that no travel consultant can answer. A poor travel consultant would say, here's 30 brochures, take them away, and when you've made your mind up, come back. A good travel agent would say, fine, I'm sure we can solve the problem for you. Sit down and let's talk about it. In other words, would engage in a sales process. So my question is, how, if ever, will the likes of Google be able to ask questions back?
Intriguing question.
I can say we're working on that kind of thing.
We knew you would be. Yeah. If it's to do with the artificial intelligence we were discussing earlier.
That's exactly the weakness. Historically, the internet's been very much you push a question out and then you get the direct response. What we're trying to do is anticipate the next question and the next query, and that gets quite sophisticated. But it's no easy task, and I say it's pretty expensive to invest in that technology. But we are trying to do that. But you highlight the very weakness. I mean, the very point. People are doing all these searches, all these queries over this huge amount of time. They're not doing it because they really want to. They've got better things to do with their time. They're doing it because they have to. And of course, that is where the travel agent's got its strength, because you could, all of these people doing all that online, they could just walk into the travel agent tomorrow and get the answer.
Yep. I think if we can just conclude this debate, what comes over for me, and I'm sure for many of you, is just what a mesh of different platforms the industry is now. Maybe where 10 years ago there was a lot of talk about the upcoming death of the travel agent and all the rest of it. Actually, each of these platforms is reinforcing each other. And I think we saw that in the ABTA research I looked at this morning. There's the point about younger people coming back to travel agents. Is that right, Victoria?
Yeah. Younger people have more positive sentiments about travel agents than older people do. And I think that again is, in terms of customer retention, obviously that's something which we need to think about. But I think, coming back to the point, I think at the moment, the research says that travel agents are scoring very highly in certain areas, and they're scoring not so high in other areas around that kind of customer insights and inspiration. Yeah. And I think that's a great opportunity.
Good. And that seems like a great opportunity to finish this afternoon's discussion. Can I just ask you to thank John, Victoria, Alistair, Andrew, and Nigel. Thank you.